Has America ever been this divided? Well, that's a good question. Let me ask you a question. What if you had a presidential candidate who was called a threat to the Constitution, an unchristian, vile American, pro-sympathizer with other countries? Would you assume that was one of our founding fathers? Or would you assume that was, President Trump, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, George Bush? Well, today we're talking about Jefferson, who was accused of being an un-Christian, anti-constitutionalist, un-American, pro-France, anti-America, America's second candidate. I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to go over Thomas Jefferson's correspondence, specifically July 23rd, 1801, with John Dickinson. And we're going to learn some very, very, I think, important lessons about what we can apply to today. Of course, we're also going to go through some Steve shenanigans, some song review, and the Screw Tape Letter. So be here for all of that. We're looking forward to it. Howdy, John Arthur Fiala, sitting in the chair of philosophy today. For Further Every Day, to my left, I got Charlie. How's it going?
I'll be here.
Glad to have you there.
Ready to go.
Chair of Culture. To his left, we got Steve in politics.
Yes, sir.
How's it
Being
going?
politically incorrect, and I am doing very well, sir. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you back from hunting.
Yes, sir.
You
Had
missed-
a great time.
What were you hunting?
I was deer
Air.
hunting.
Okay.
With my bow.
He was hunting air.
Yeah, pretty much.
The air below, above the doe that ducked, right?
You bet.
So he was bow hunting.
Clear, clean mess. It was nothing but air.
Nothing but air. Swish. Been there, done that.
Yep.
Mr. Producer, how's it going, Ryan?
Good.
Good. Okay. Well,
It was almost like,
good. Bleh. Spit it out. Okay. So first cut, Mr. Producer. Jefferson to Thomas Dickinson. He ends with this quote from Horace in his Odes 3:1, which is illustrum et teneasim prospoti virum.
oh, yeah. Say it again.
On integrity and perseverance. And he has this quote: "The man of integrity who holds fast to his purpose is not shaken from his firm resolve by hot-headed citizens urging him to do wrong or by the frown of an oppressive despot." And so, first off, our founders, for being 20, 30, 40-year-old men, not old white dudes as they are depicted in the common media and culture, they were very learned scholars who researched the Greek and Roman poets, tragedians, etc. They definitely were learned men. The man of integrity who holds fast to his purpose is not easily shaken by loud citizens or despots. It's a good place to end, but today I thought we would start with that because it's from Horace, and it's from his Odes, which is, again, speaking of the Horace is recapping the stories, the odes to the gods, the demigods, and the Roman leaders. So it's a good way to end, and I think it puts a bit of color. So let's set the table. This is 1801. Jefferson has just been elected by 36 ballots was the delta. 36 ballots is how he got in. He scraped in. And you have the Democratic Republicans, and you have the Federalists. And he is elected by this gnat's hair. He comes in and he says in his electoral speech, "We are all Democratic Republicans and we are all Federalists," i.e. we're all Americans.
I was going to say, he really, he elaborated to an nth degree just to say, we're all Americans.
We're all Americans. I'm being accused of being pro-France, anti-America. Not a Christian, not true. And again, if you look at him, he definitely read the scriptures. If someone says, "What about the Jeffersonian Bible?" ask them which one. If they can't tell you, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm not going to get too far into that today, but then he's also accused of being an anti-constitutionalist. In preparation for this, actually, if you've ever seen any of the political cartoons of the day, he's trying to snatch the Constitution from the American eagle, with a craved look in his eye. So if you think that this political divide is new, it is not. It has always been this way on some level. So he's writing to John Dickinson, who was the president of 2 different colonies early on. He's widely considered a moderate and someone who was a unifying candidate, someone who was always, in any race that he ran, he was considered to be the unifier, the populist, if you will, and a good friend to Thomas Jefferson. So he's writing back and forth saying, hey, how do I navigate this? Because I do have my own beliefs, but I also want to unify America under this one umbrella and this presidency and move forward in a positive way. John Dickinson was also known as the pen of the revolution here in America. He was one of the most prolific authors during the Revolutionary War. So Jefferson is writing to him on July 23rd. This is not too much earlier in the year than when we're publishing this in October. This is his first term. Just think about this as summer of Trump's term, right?
Yep.
Is his first few months, first 6 months in office. So Jefferson writes this cut too. My dear and respected friend, I have duly received your favor of the 18th. Dr. Vaughn's character has been known to me for a certain degree and advantageously known as a friend of the Republican government. Your letter in his favor strengthened my confidence for your satisfaction as well as from a regard of truth. I assure you that nothing could be more candid than his conduct here. And it was at my request that he undertook to consult the friends of republicanism. On his return to recommend a marshal, he declined doing it here of himself and until he could know that the person would accept. Continue. I am sorry the person recommended has not been agreeable to the Republicans. He's having an issue with an appointment here. But I am more concerned to see in this disapprobation of a germ of division, which, if not smothered, will continue you under that rule from which a union is relieving our fellow citizens in the other states. It is disheartening to see, on the approaching crisis of election, a division of that description of Republicans, which has certainly no strength to spare. But, my dear friend, if we do not learn to sacrifice small differences of opinion, we can never act together. Every man cannot have his way in all things. Why do I think this is relevant today? Well, look no further than Trump and Musk. Look at the coalition that Charlie Kirk brought together. And in a lot of ways, John Dickinson was Jefferson's Charlie Kirk. If you're to compare Dickinson to Kirk, Jefferson to Trump. And where Jefferson's coming from here is, look, we have a difference in a large federal government or a small federal government, but we have to at some point agree that when we elect someone and the state of electors is sent out, that decision has to be finalized. And you can't demonstrate, you can't protest, and you can't tear apart the fabric of the nation for too long without consequences. You have the freedom to demonstrate, to bring those out. But after a while, you will erode the society. That's what we're looking at today, is it not?
Yeah. And
we're looking at a full breakdown.
One thing that I was thinking about a moment ago is if you think about Dickinson being a moderate, do moderates closely associate themselves with extremists? And I'm trying to go through in my mind to try to find any of those examples, and I don't know as I really do. Here's why I bring up the issue, though, because Trump has been accused of a whole lot of stuff when it comes to his pulling coalition together. Who would have thought he would have brought in a Tulsi Gabbard? Who would have thought he would have brought in a Robert F. Kennedy? Who would have thought that he would have brought in a Musk? Musk is he's not a Republican by any stretch. And yet there's some ideals there that he believes in strongly. To me, it's very similar to a church. When you have a church operating, what do you want to do? You want to put those that are gifted with different skills and abilities in the right places to help lead the church. And I'm talking administratively.
Yes.
When we're talking about a federal government, what do I want? I want the same thing. Do I want an Elon Musk in charge of Doge?
Yeah.
You bet I do.
Yeah.
You bet I do. Forget about the fact that he's the richest man in the world. He is. But why is he the richest man in the world because he truly understands how to spend money, how to be a good steward of it, but also he knows how to make the right decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about Jefferson and Dickinson, I think about, Dickinson being that sounding board, that person that can actually provide a reasonable look, multiple looks at the same thing, giving Jefferson the opportunity to make the best possible decision. Isn't that what we want?
And that's what we need long term. But there's a certain amount of deference to authority that has to be given.
Yes.
And that's something I think we've lost in our culture.
Yep.
We've lost the ability to say, you have a duty. You have a responsibility. You have rights. You do. Just as a man, someone in the comments section made a comment about marriage and divorce. In marriage, you have rights. The man has rights. He has a right to the woman's body. He also has a duty. He has a responsibility. The woman has a right to her husband's, everything. Everything. God says you are to submit your bodies to each other, but you're also supposed to submit to each other's will.
Yeah.
You're supposed to come into one accord. You have duties. We have rights as citizens. We also have duties. Your rights do not come without responsibilities and duties. And we like to talk about our rights. We like to talk about what we can get, but we don't like to talk about what we can give. The man, just so that we're perfectly clear, I've said this before, but you have to repeat it. The man has a right to his wife's body. The woman has a right to her husband's body, and they both have duties. If you fail in your duties, you lose your rights. That you lose rights, privileges, responsibilities. You have to fulfill your end. And we as citizens, sometimes we like to talk about our rights, our rights, our rights.
And real quick, while we're on it, since we've got duties, folks, it's primary time.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, it's mid.
Primary time. We need to vote.
Yep. By the way, important propositions getting passed.
Holy cow.
Got Alan 101 in the chat. I'm going to call you out. I saw you're in Houston. You say it's raining in Houston. I was here too. Rocked my boat, literally, because I live on a boat. Are you going out? There's some important propositions to vote for this election.
I looked at the Montgomery County ballot.
Important stuff?
We have 20 plus pages.
We had 14 props in Harris, and they were all important. They're all important.
And I'll be voting, folks. I will be voting.
Make sure you're going out and voting.
And interesting thing on Montgomery County, there's a number of bonds.
Yes. It's a fast-growing county. That's what and this is why this is so important. Folks, if you want to complain, you can complain. Be part of the solution.
Yeah,
if you're not going to vote, you're not part of the solution.
If you're not going to support local candidates and actually be a part, again, people say the system's rigged. What did you do last primary?
Hello.
Like legitimately, maybe your system is rigged, but guess what? You can unrig it. You can you can unscrew it.
Yep.
If
Sorry,
it's screwed,
I'm on my
unscrew
soapbox.
it. No, I agree with you. So we have our responsibilities, we have our duties, we have our rights. So Jefferson continues here, number 4, Mr. Producer. If his own opinion prevails that sometimes he should acquiesce on seeing that of others preponderate at others. Without this mutual disposition, we are disjointed individuals, but not a society. It is my position is painful enough between the Federalists who cry out on the first touch of their monopoly and Republicans who clamor for universal removal. A subdivision of the latter will increase the perplexity. I am proceeding with deliberation and inquiry to do what I think just to both descriptions and conciliatory to both. The greatest good we can do our country is to heal its party divisions and make them one people. Notice he doesn't say one party. He does say one people. And you'll notice he's saying at the end of the day, we have to make a decision. If someone sees their opinion clicked in over here and they're represented, you need to be willing to say, I can compromise, not on morality, but on policy over here. The problem is what Jefferson was not living at the time was this morally disjointed world. At the time, these are people who, by and large, believed in liberty under Christ, duty to God, duty to country, and they were still at each other's throats.
That's a thought.
Yeah.
That's a thought.
Right?
You know, sorry.
Right? No,
a really good point.
And we could absolutely go down that rabbit hole. But this is at a time when Jefferson said, look, well, you gotta give a little bit on slightly bigger federal government versus slightly smaller federal government. And I need to kind of bridge the two and figure out how to make that. That was what he was dealing with. Okay. The Republican Democrats at the time were not the Democratic Party of today, right? They weren't as left, but they sprung out of this, right? So we can kind of debate that whole time frame was a different time, and we've seen just the debauching of these parties as they've grown further and further. So anyway, next cut, Mr. Producer, if you'll continue. I do not speak of their leaders who are incurables. Sorry, I love that. I do not speak of their leaders who are incurables, but of honest and well-intentioned body of the people. I consider the pure Federalist as a Republican who would prefer a somewhat stronger executive, and the Republican as one more willing to trust the legislature as a broader representation of the people, and a safer deposit of power for many reasons. But both sects are Republican, entitled to the confidence of their fellow citizens. Not so their quondam leaders, covering under the mask of federalism, hearts devoted to monarchy.
Ouch.
So again, Jefferson, Republican Democrat, coming out, and he's laying in his little jab in this private letter to Dickinson. He's like, okay, so these guys desire a monarchy. I absolutely hate them. But the people who are coming alongside, they're generally going to be an American. And he's making that good faith representation. What we don't have anymore from Jefferson's day is we don't have that assumption of general good faith, at least on one side. As a conservative, I generally think most liberals, 60, 70% by polling, want peace in a stable society. 30 to 40% literally want to tear it down. Like they literally want to burn you and your children alive. Not kidding, not calling for violence against them. I'm not saying that you should do the same to them, but that's what they want. They believe that we're all Charlie Kirk and we're all Hitler and we should all be murdered. Okay, that's 30% of the left right now. It is a different world than what Jefferson lived in.
Very different.
But we can apply some of the same principles.
And I think it's important too that for today's day and age, just like they were then, although they didn't have this issue, self-defense is a pretty important thing. And I think about that. I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't know if you've seen much of this, but one of the things that I'm seeing a little more on the YouTubes and the Rumbles, things like that, are the people that are possibly losing their SNAP benefits early this next month.
Oh, yeah.
And I told Nikki, I said, you know, here's what I think we need to do. You and I need to make sure that we have most of our food bought for the next month or so. And we do, because I'm not sure I want to be running to the store encountering somebody that's standing at the register and not happy that they don't have their SNAP. And they think they're going to walk out the store with those groceries anyway.
And so there's been a lot of rage bait on this. I'm not sure how much of it's real.
I agree.
But there was one guy who supposedly believed that it was a taxpayer's duty to feed him. It's what you guys do. I want my effing SNAP. I want my effing EBT. I want my blah, 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 said he. I'm not going to play the clip. Didn't put it in the show map. I thought it was too vulgar. But we did talk about that this week, and I agree with you. I think it's going to get more nasty before it gets better. Don't know if that's a real person saying what he really thinks, but there are people, you know, who believe that they deserve the taxpayer dole. And I like what on PSB's live chat, Sarai, aka MZ Mary, said, they have it in their mind if you're a Republican that you're an automatic Christian, and that's what they hate.
I think there's some truth to that.
That's why they hate Trump. Not because he's a Christian, because he rules as a Christian would. And maybe he's a Christian. I think that bullet in Butler, Pennsylvania,
Certainly got his attention.
I think there might be something there, and some of the stuff that he has said since makes me think he literally converted on the field there. I believe that might be true, but for years before, he was only running as a populist in a mostly Christian nation.
Yep.
So, and I'm not at all accusing Trump of any sort of deceit. I just believe that he's ruling in a way that he believes American people want, and in a way that's going to help America. I think it's become more true. But all of that to say, that's not the reason Trump being hated is not because he's a Republican. It's because this world hates truth. It hates good, righteous activity. There are forces in this world. The prince of the power of the air is Satan, the demonic realm. If I can get woo-wooey with you, and I don't think it is woo-woo, they desire the destruction of America because America is that light. It is the only light. It is the only remotely Christian nation in the world.
Yep.
And once it goes, it's going to be a sad, sad day for the world. God can work in spite of America being gone, absolutely, but we should do everything we can to protect her. Now, just to continue Jefferson's letter, Mr. Producer, if we can go to the next cut, number 6, please. The Hamiltonians, the Essex men, the revolutionary Tories, etc., they have the right to tolerance, but neither to confidence nor power. It is very important that the pure Federalist and Republican should take this honest and dispassionate view of one another, should see in the opinion of each other but a shade of his own, which by a union of action will be lessened by one half, that they should see and know the monarchist as their common enemy, on whom they should keep their eye, but keep off their hands.
Boy,
this is a good stretch towards unity. You've got the libertarian side in the conservative movement. And so this was my one critique of Charlie Kirk in his whole life, all of his work. My only negative thing I've ever said about him is I think he makes too many friends. But I think he proved that hypothesis flatly wrong. And the reason I say that is the coalition government and the coalition voters that we built in this last election, no matter how principled my Christian views are, Trump is not leading the church. And please, church, do not allow the Republican establishment to become your leadership. God is your leadership.
Amen.
You should push towards the establishment. So that's like the Christian nationalism charge. The only part of that I take seriously is some churches take the Republican talking points instead of dictating the Republican talking points as the church. That's my only issue. And so if you keep that clear, the Charlie Kirk coalition, kind of like the John Dickinsonian coalition that Jefferson was looking to curry and understand and grow with, that is a good thing. That is a morally good thing because we can say, look, we agree on these things. I can't agree with you, dear, log cabin Republicans, gay Republicans. I can't agree with you on your gayness, but I can agree with you that, hey, we got to stop transing the kids. We got to stop. And I think they become more of a left-wing organization. But I'm saying if they had maintained that, I'd say if we can agree, you can't trans kids. We got to change the tax rate. Abortion's bad. If we can agree on those things, we can stand firm on this. I don't agree with the homosexuality. I don't think it should be legal. I definitely think it shouldn't be state instituted, right? As a legal orchestration, maybe that's the best way to say it. But we can agree on these other things. That is a fine coalition to build, as long as the church does not become confused with the party. And that's what Jefferson's saying. He's saying, look, we want to protect, in their case, against the monarchy, against Europe. Funny enough, if you follow the ideas of critical theory, they all lead to Europe anyway, and from that wing of the Enlightenment.
Yep.
So we're still defending from the monarchy of Europe, just in the sense of Marxism and the totalitarian regime of Marxism, but in a way, in kind of a very, very loose off, bit of a stretch. We're still fighting Europe, the ideas of Europe, because critical theory, Marxism, all straight out of critical theory in Germany, nonsensical stuff. But I digress. Next cut, Mr. Producer. But in Delaware, it seems we have a preliminary operation to reconcile dissenting Republicans for how can Federalists coalesce with those who will not coalesce with each other. I know too well, my friend, your moderation, your justice, your affection for national liberty, to doubt your best endeavors to heal this twofold separation. The purity and perspicuity of your views are well respected by all parties.
Aren't we living this today?
We're living this right
with
now.
The shutdown. Mm-hmm. I mean, what a question. For how can Federalists coalesce with those who will not coalesce with each other?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking about, it was a clean CR bill. Mm-hmm. There's nothing added to it. There's nothing being taken away. This is just, we're moving it forward. And they can't do that. And now you've got some Democrats that have voted both ways on it. They started out voting no, then they went to yes, now they're back to no. How does that look for your next election campaign?
Mm-hmm.
You don't even know where you stand. I mean, it's really ridiculous how bad this thing has gotten. And to me, there's really no reason for this.
Well, what we're watching is people who have no true moral value.
Yeah, I totally concur.
They're playing for their team, and not to get too tinfoil hatty, but there is a large amount of money being thrown around. And yes, as someone who's generally pro-Israel, generally speaking, there's a lot of Israel money going into that. There's a lot of Democrat money. There's a lot of Soros money. The different ADL type groups need to go, or they need to be registered as foreign agents. I'll agree with the folks who say that 100%. And that's where a lot of this flip flop occurs. Okay, whether it's the Soros money or it's ADL, those things shouldn't be going on. Full stop. End of story. That shouldn't be happening. But they'll flip flop with no real value behind what they're saying.
Sari, aka Ms. Mary, interesting comment there. Schumer has believed he has been running the government since Bush, and for the most part he was. That is an interesting take. I think what we're seeing, though, is, and this is where the disappointment in Schumer just goes off the charts. He knows this is a no-win position.
Mm-hmm.
And now to watch, and I don't want to digress too far off this, but it's a movement. We're talking about coalescing. And I sense that what Democrats are doing, especially with what Hakeem Jeffries did this last week in endorsing Mamdani, you're telling your Democratic people, you're going the way with us to here, to the socialism.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of Democrats that are going to now coalesce more to the Republican side and say, this is nonsense. At least there's still some sanity somewhat. Maybe I don't agree with everything, but.
Well, just look at Fetterman.
Oh, it's a great example.
That's happening right now.
Perfect example.
That's happening right now. Like as we speak, we're seeing that come out. And so it's only getting, it's only getting to be more hard. It's like the Tulsi Gabbards of this world are saying enough of this.
If you were going to have a quote unquote leader for the Democratic Party of old, Fetterman would be it. He to me represents what they used to be. And I'm talking way back.
Way back when. He's like an old blue dog Democrat.
Yep.
Yeah, I fully agree. And so it's sad that the party's leaving what we used to consider untenable positions, and they're going further into more untenable positions.
Yep.
So Jefferson finishes out his letter to John Dickinson, July 23rd, 1801, cut number 8. I hope much then from their effect, and that the operating on good sense and patriotism of the friends of free government of every shade, they will spare us the painful and deplorable spectacle of brethren sacrificing to small passions the great, the immortal and immutable rights of men. May heaven prosper you in your endeavors, and long preserve in health and life a consistent patriot whose principles have stood unchanged by prosperous or adverse times, whom neither the civim
I want to hear you do it.
And or prava jubentium nec vultis insantis tyranny mente quatit solida. I tender you the homage of my constant and affectionate and respectful friendship and respect. So just for the translation for that one more time, the man of integrity who holds fast to his purpose is neither shaken from his firm resolve by hot-headed citizens urging him to do wrong or by the frown of an oppressive despot. That's the Horace quote from Odes 3, chapter 3, verse 3, subsection 1. So Jefferson's point is this. My objective as a statesman is to unify the government under common cause against those in our government, because again, there were still Tories. If you don't remember who the Tories were, it was the Tories versus the Whigs in the early revolutionary time frame. The Tories were the British loyalists. These were people who still wanted reconciliation with the crown, and they would cut pregnant women open to make sure that the babies were dead from their victims, from their fellow Americans. So the very violent side of things, a very violent loyalism to the crown. So he's saying, look, the Federalists and the Republican Democrats, we need to at least be coalesced on this one thing. Because remember, it's only been 9 years or so since we coalesced a new constitution, and only 2 decades since the revolution. So very 2.5 decades. It's been a very short amount of time. So he's saying we need to coalesce around freedoms and not sacrifice the small, the large scope for the small thing. So I do think that building a coalition is a really positive thing that we need to be focused on. Coming midterms, we need to win these in the midterms, and we need to have really a change in the culture. You could win the midterms and still not change the culture, and that's our biggest fear, is that we don't see a revival. I'm glad that people are reacting to Charlie Kirk's martyrhood with a new fervor. I hope that doesn't die down, because the same people are still excited about murdering conservatives. And to that point, I want to go to the story of Joffrey Ingersoll from Young America's Foundation. This last week, he posted a follow-up to an article he wrote in the Daily Caller. And this is the summary, Mr. Producer, if you can go to cut number 9. The FBI visited my house yesterday. Why did the FBI visit Joffrey Ingersoll's house? Well, guess what? When I found, next cut, Mr. Producer, guess what I found when I got home last night? The FBI visited my house yesterday. Her card was wedged into the screen door. Full name's redacted here. Special Agent so-and-so, Washington Field Office, cell on the back. The wife and kids were hustling out of the car as I dialed her back. My wife is familiar enough with my body language at this point to know when I, a career reporter, am making a call of some sort. So she just went inside and left me be. After about a dozen rings, a special agent picked up. At this point, I had countless interactions with the FBI, often on stories, and even then, more often on security clearances. Something about this one was different, though. She came to my house, seemingly unprompted. She says, I just wanted to let you know that we've opened a case because somebody on TikTok has been posting your address, she said. She said the posts had been reported and removed, but that the concerned citizens had reached out to the Bureau to report the behavior. I asked whether the FBI managed to acquire archived copies of these posts, and she said yes. I asked what they said, and she said it had to do with calling for violence and that I should be subjected to it. Let's pause here for a moment. We're going to rewind just a couple of days earlier. I didn't want to go into his second post in depth, but basically what he said is he had pictures of conservatives, pro-lifers, who had had the tar beaten out of them, like bloody, black and blue faced conservatives, beaten by leftists at rallies or events. And what Joffrey Ingersoll said was this: it's time, if the government will not protect us, you can't turn the other cheek. You have to establish deterrence. If someone hits you, hit them back harder. If someone's beating up someone else, beat them up harder. You have to establish deterrence. Otherwise, we have a problem. And I read a few of his articles just to get the general gist of what he was saying. What the New York Times didn't do when they reported on this, and they said, Ingersoll is promoting violence. And his response is, yeah, I am promoting violence. Violent self-defense is what I am promoting. If the government won't do it, who is going to establish deterrence? And I want to be really clear. I wish, very clear, I advocate this much violence. I advocate absolute self-defense. And I think that's what Ingersoll was trying to say. He was trying to say, I do not advocate political violence, but when political violence is leveraged, you need to protect yourself and your family. You have a responsibility to protect yourself. Of course, the New York Times takes that out of context, and the internet does this thing, and this man's home where his children live is now public record, being spread all over the internet with a call to violence. So, and I want to get Steve's take in just a second, but let's go through the thought experiment here. Man says political violence is hitting conservatives. Conservatives need to defend themselves violently if and when necessary. What's the left's response? Commit more violence. You see the difference? One is you have a duty to your family and to your God and to yourself to protect your life. The other one is take their life. We're not living in Jefferson's America. We're living in a new kind. To be very clear, because people will clip anyone and anything out of context, no one here would ever suggest political violence is a good thing. But everyone in this room would agree and has prepared themselves to defend themselves violently if necessary. That is the difference between us and them. Jesus was not a wet rag. He never allowed anyone to lay a hand on him in violence until his calling was at hand. If you'll read what happened when the crowd wanted to stone him after he read Isaiah 53, I am the fulfillment of this. They all grabbed stones. He walked through them supernaturally. He walked through them. If he had had a sword, don't know. I'm not going to speak for Jesus. Don't know. But I suspect. And the idea that he said, there'll come a time where you must sell your cloak and buy a sword. They say we have two. Jesus says that's enough. It's not supposed to be your personality. It's not your calling to be violent. But it is your calling to be able to defend yourself and your family. Your life is valuable. Steve.
Yes. It sounds more like to me that the gentleman is talking about self-defense more than anything to me. I mean, I've taught self-defense for over 25 years, and I've never had a problem with anything that I've ever taught. I've taught, various, I've taught law enforcement. I've taught various stages of law enforcement and various applications for them, and in women's self-defense, children's self-defense, men's self-defense, just a whole host of different self-defense and other applications for things in martial arts. And, there comes a time when, just like you're talking about, that you have to defend yourself. And if you don't believe that, just like the ones that you've talked about, you can also go and read the book of Nehemiah.
Yep.
That whole book talks about defense.
One hand on a sword and the other with the tool.
That's exactly right.
Ezekiel 33:6 if the watchman on the wall sees danger comes and doesn't blow the horn, the blood of the innocent will be on his head.
Right. That's
the man of the house in your home. In your home, it's the parents who have the right. If you're a single mom, that's your job.
Correct.
Your job is to protect your children. If you know better, if you could have defended, it's your job. If you're Joffrey Ingersoll, that is your job to protect and defend your home. This person has lost their right to life when they try to take yours. Not advocating political violence, but violent self-defense when necessary is right. You take one step back. Any self-defense instructor will say, you're at a bar, you're out in the street, someone comes into your space, you take one step back, and that one step back is only to position yourself. Because if they try to drive one more step into you, you land it hard. You land that first blow. If they continue to come into your space, because if they push you over, you break your skull out on the sidewalk. We've seen the videos. We know what this looks like. Your life has value. I don't think enough people say that, by the way. Your life has value. And if someone tries to take it, if someone tries to disable you or kill you, they are taking that value. You have an obligation, especially if you have a family. You have an obligation to defend yourself. Again, not to be on the offense, on the defense. But if you start your defense, what was it your wife always told your boys? I better not ever see you boys in a fight, but if someone picks it,
better finish
you better finish it.
That's
and
right.
You better all finish it.
That's why it's called self-defense, not self-offense.
That's it. That's it. It's always a matter of, you turn the other cheek when it's an insult. The slap was like a throwing down of the gauntlet. And you're saying, okay, I'm not going to take that bait. That was the cultural insinuation. It was the same as a knight slapping another man in the face with his steel glove, okay? It was, I'm challenging you to a fight. Jesus said, don't take the bait. Don't get into that. He didn't say, roll over and die. Absolutely different things. So to that point, Joffrey Ingersoll goes further. If you can go ahead and pull up the next cut, Mr. Producer. Go ahead and pull me up 11. The other option to restore polite society is that conservatives in liberal jurisdictions protect themselves violently if necessary. This is where the guy's coming from. I'm just going to skip down here. Do we finally, conservatives, start policing, or do we attempt to prosecute conservatives for obviously legal acts of self-determination? Do we as a society start using the police, or do we as conservatives have to start policing, or are you going to start to prosecute conservatives for obviously legal acts of self-preservation, self-determination, he says here. But next cut, Mr. Producer. Someone needs to do the hard work of restoring polite society. It is either us or the state. If it is us, I promise you it will be messy, says Ingersoll. Thank you, Mr. Producer. He goes on to say, my only regret is that my family, like John, it's fine, Mr. Producer. My family, like John Adams's family, is under fire. Like he says, and I don't want to compare myself to John Adams, he was fighting, right, or, the first shots of the revolution were like 10 miles from his house. Okay. He said, I'm not comparing myself to John Adams. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm saying I should never be in a case like John Adams. They've already fought and died for that cause. But in a way, I'm having to stand by my words and fight, as he did, in a whole new world, in a situation that just the government should be taking care of this, but it's not. So how do we institute a polite society? Through deterrence. How is deterrence always, inevitably, and only established?
You got to respond
through violence.
Yep.
It's always established through violence. But
and Trump to me is. This is why some people loathe him, especially on the left. Because what has been done for the last 40, 50 years,
We've allowed
we've
violence.
allowed the left
Yep.
to just walk all over us. And Trump his first term was indicative of this. You're not going to walk all over. His campaign
Yes.
was very indicative of that.
Yes.
And a lot of people, they bristle at the thought of Trump, so on and so forth. And I try to tell people, look, part of the reason that Trump is the way he is because he's from New York. If
Yep.
you have never been to New York City, you do not understand their culture.
Correct.
It's different. They're fighters. They will gladly punch you in the face if you want to start something. That's the way they are. I remember working for a Fortune 100 company, and I needed to make some business trips up there. And this one person who was part of our company, she was as rough could be. And I had to make those business trips up there, and I totally felt secure around her. And here's why. She knew the ways. Mm-hmm. She understood how to talk, and nothing scared her. And I'm like, okay, if there's nothing scaring you, then I should be good.
Yep.
And Donald Trump is that way. You want to poke your finger in his eye? That's okay. He'll poke two in yours. That's the way he is.
Well, we also need to divest ourselves of this idea that Jesus was a damp dish towel.
Amen.
Like we think that being Christian is somehow like the 11th commandment is what, Mr. Producer?
Be nice.
Thou shalt be nice. It is not the 11th commandment, dear Christians. David was a fierce warrior. What did Elijah say to the prophets of Baal? Is your God taking a crap? Is that why he's not showing up? Come on, cut harder. Cut yourselves harder, self-harm harder. Or maybe realize that God is God. Those are our examples, people. Those are our examples. And look, I'm not saying, by the way, I would never advocate for self-harm, but that's what those people were doing. He was saying, try harder. And maybe it's a little dark, but you know what? That is our example. That is our playbook. And it is okay to be fearless for God. It is okay to be fearless for God. We don't want to be obtuse. We want to be correct. We want to be precise. And you want to defend yourself. I'm sorry. This idea, where Charlie started up, I was about to leave off. Deterrence is always established through violence. I need to clarify that. By the state or by the people in an anarchist society. Mm-hmm. Choose which way you will go, dear Westerner. Do you wish to have our society collapse in on itself as the Middle East comes in and is brought in? The Great Replacement theory is now the Great Replacement fact. Just look at Michigan for that. Okay, look at Coney Island,
and look at
Europe. Look at Europe. The one nation. We put this out there. Mr. Producer does not have this cut handy, but we showed it a couple of weeks ago. The one nation that has RAPE gone down. It's going to be nice for YouTube. Hopefully, they don't ding us.
You're very kind.
Is Poland. That's the only one that the RAPE has gone down in the last 20 years. You know who they didn't allow? Unvetted foreigners from nations that don't value women.
Oops.
Everyone else, it has 10x'd. Order of magnitude more women taken against their will.
And we're not going to talk about what happened in Sweden.
It doesn't change. You have to start using your voting rights while you have the opportunity. We need to start pushing forward. And we need to start with the church.
Amen.
We need to fix the church. We need to the guy last week that we were reading, that one pastor, we need to uncuck the church. We need to defeminize the church. We need men to be men who are providers, who are selfless, who are true leaders. And we need women who are nurturers, who are the wisdom that imparts to the next generation. And the ones who are
designed to complement each other.
We're designed to complement each other, not replace each other. We are not interchangeable. Sorry, I'm never going to carry a child to term, although the left would like to try. That's a different story. There's some horrible experiments that have gone on with attempting men to be able to carry to term. That's the devil trying to break the image of the church in Christ.
Yep.
Okay. We have to become, and that happens when men are effeminate, okay, and women are masculine. We need to have masculine men, feminine women, both complementing each other and building out a real society. If we can do that, I think we will see a sincere difference. So, any final thoughts on this at this point?
I really ache about this thing with Ingersoll. He is spot on right. I am sorry this has happened to his family. And I have to tell you, there's times when I want to just go and stand guard, for some of these people. What happened with Kavanaugh? Just why?
Yep.
Why? This ought not to be. And if our government was doing as it should be, to be a deterrent,
Correct.
we'd really be in a lot better place. By the way, this is actually a good place to put this in. This is why it's important to vote, folks.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about the important positions that you're voting on, your state attorneys, your county attorneys, these are super, super important. You cannot just let these roll by. You need to investigate these people.
100%.
Make phone calls if you have to. If you cannot, and I've done this, if you can't find the information that you want on a certain individual, then make a phone call. If you still can't get it, they can't get your vote.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't. You gotta know. And I just want to implore people.
Your local school boards.
Oh,
your local
wow.
school boards read up on who. And by the way, in Texas, we have something called the Link Letter by Terry Lowry. Interesting fellow. There are other ones that you can read. You can find reports from people where they detail out why. Okay, whichever one you use, it's fine. Find a high quality,
There you go.
vetted source to be able to read. Because some of us work for a living, right? Right, and I'll be gone for 3 weeks, so I had to vote early. Okay, I'll be gone for 3 weeks on work, starting next week. So I had to vote early, and I had to go read up. But I normally am participating in the election process, but this year I've been very, very busy. Go find someone who has summarized all the candidates, someone that you trust and has a good track record, and pick up. I mean, it's so easy to make a good vote now these days. It is so easy. There's
a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
I will say the local races are harder.
Yes, they are.
The very, very local races.
Yes, they are.
So, because what a lot of candidates do is they don't want to use the R or D.
Yep.
And
100%.
get it. I understand. Right. Now you've got to articulate your positions very definitively. And yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Super important.
So, unless there's anything else, we'll move on to Steve's shenanigans.
Steve's got shenanigans.
No, I was just
You want one more?
kind of curious about your working on being pregnant thing
Working
there
on
over
being
there.
pregnant.
Yeah, I was
How's
just,
that working?
I'm not working on being pregnant, but I'm saying as a man, it's not possible.
We had a scoop going right there.
It's not possible for a man to be pregnant, but they are. So actually, they are trying to see. There have been experiments done to see if you can carry a child to term in the intestinal lining.
How
on
ridiculous.
men. It might actually work. 1, 2. My question is, at what cost? At what cost
part?
to the child?
In the colon?
No. It would be in the lining outside of the intestinal tract. I don't want to get into the science of it, but
Yeah.
it's wrong. It's depraved.
No, that's just wrong.
That's
Correct.
just wrong.
Yeah.
It's just wrong. But they're trying to do that. And how many children have died in attempts for that? I don't know. But it's sick and it's gross.
Sure
and
it
needs
is.
to stop.
I mean, that's like, let's experiment on babies.
Yep.
I mean, what?
It's very Nazi-esque. You know, there's a meme. We experiment on mentally ill people, and we believe in segregation, and it's the Nazi and it's the wokey. Me too. Me too. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the same. It's the same German critical ideology. Unfortunately, it's really funny. They scream about fascists and they murder people like fascists. They experiment on mentally ill people like fascists. They kill people in the name of eugenics like fascists. They're fascists.
And they call everybody else Nazis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But when they are exactly. So we're going to move on into a little bit more of a fun segment here. This is Steve Shenanigans, and this is Survival Equipment Part 2. Go ahead.
Yes, some survival items. Part 2. I can go shoot me a buffalo.
Nope.
Stay out of my garbage can. I'll keep it to myself.
All right, Steve.
Yes, this is part 2 of some items that, of course, survival items that have been, you can find in your garage that I've pulled out of my garage that are just kind of like in your garage that you can use.
If they're not in your garage, Steve is suggesting that you get them.
Get them. And they are very great, even if you're not using them on a regular basis, because they do come in handy at times when you have hurricanes or bad storms or whatever, things like that. If you live in the South along the coast, you're familiar with hurricanes. So, Captain, let's get started, sir. This one is a very familiar one with any of those that do any kind of camping. This is a lantern. This one is one that is a propane lantern.
I was going to say that looks gas related.
Yes.
I can't see it real well, but
this is a newer style lantern. The older style were white gas style, and you pumped them up. And actually, those are really good ones to have. If you have some of those, they're kind of hard to find parts to now. But if you have some, keep them, because if you can scavenge parts off of them and make one to use, they're really good to have, because in hard times, it's hard to get
best way to do
propane bottles. You know what I mean?
The best way to pair up that lantern is with a stem, so you can also power what's on the next cue.
Correct.
Next cut, Mr. Producer. Oh, I thought it was. I thought it was
wrong order.
Wrong order.
Wrong order.
I got them mixed up.
That's all right.
But this is good.
Rain gear. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This is probably, as far as survival gear goes, something that is very, very important to have. You can use it at a lot of different times, whether it's cold or whether it's warm, because there are so many times that you can wear it to break the wind, get out when the weather's bad, keep you dry. You can do.
You don't know.
Rain gear is a wonderful thing to have.
You don't know how much you'll miss it until you need it.
That is exactly right, because I'll tell you what, I have been out and have wished I had rain gear so many times. I'll tell you. Oh, man, I'll tell you what, there's nothing like
worse
having wet, itchy underwear.
Well, see, and you kind of going where I was thinking, especially in a survival thing, there's nothing worse than being wet and cold.
Correct.
Yep.
It is the worst.
I'm wearing cotton. If you're ever outdoors, so I've taught survival, a little bit of tracking, and a lot of trail craft, and a little bit of field craft with long-term recce work. But anyway, death cloth is the worst thing you can bring on any of these. That the death cloth, jeans, cotton clothes. You want to make sure that you have high quality ripstop nylon or rain gear like Steve has up there.
Even stuff like wool is fantastic. And I'll tell you what, as far as socks go, wool socks, even when it's warm, they're great.
Yep.
Wool socks are great. I mean, they're just wonderful. Even if they're really, really thin, they're wonderful. Next slide, sir. axe and a hatchet.
Nice.
Either one, whether it's a hatchet or a large axe.
Which
And
would you prefer?
These things,
Axe.
I'll tell you what, everybody
Full-size axe.
should have one, at least an axe or a hatchet.
Axe, if you have two, one can suffice as the wedge and the other one is the hammer. You flip it over properly.
Yep.
Correct.
So if you have an axe and you have a hatchet, your hatchet's your wedge. You flip your axe to the backside, and that's your splitter for splitting logs.
Correct?
Nice and fast, easy way to get firewood out of felled trees.
Exactly. You can cut your trees, cut your firewood, split it.
Both are one complements the other if you have to chop wood.
Yes. Sharpen
Great wedge.
sticks, firewood. I mean, they're great. You'll be
100%.
amazed what you can do with them. Hammers, it's amazing.
It's your zombie apocalypse tool. you
Yes.
know? It's perfect for all of the things.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Don't throw it. Only wield it. That's
Yes.
a bad idea. Throwing it.
Yeah.
Now you don't have one. You threw it away. It's gone. Anyway, so
Yeah,
go
it can
ahead.
do the thing that special forces guys call canoeing.
Canoeing.
Canoeing?
Canoeing.
Yeah, that's where they kind of, the head goes
Split.
like this, and they
TMI.
call it.
This is a family show.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to get.
It's a family show. Keep it classy. Next
called
one.
canoeing. But
Speaking of which, recurve bow. I absolutely agree. A recurve or a compound. Nice thing about a recurve is that they're low maintenance.
exactly. And what's neat about the recurve is the fact you have no wheels. And
Simple.
you can, if you have to, make a string if the one you have
Gets
breaks.
damaged. Yeah, that's true.
And you can still use it.
I like my 70-pound pole compound though.
Boy, so do
With
I.
an optic on it. It's
Yep.
so sweet. It's a
It
cheat.
is. But when the
cheat.
string breaks, man,
Your SOL.
you are, because you got no way to
You know what SOL means, Mr. Producer, right?
No.
Stuck out of luck. It definitely means stuck.
Our chat just lit up on that. I guarantee you.
Keep going. Keep going, Steve.
you are SOL, buddy.
All right. Stuck out of luck. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a family show.
Now,
There you
here is one that everybody should have is a camp stove. Now,
How
this
did I
one
stand with it?
is old and it still works, people. This is the type that has a tank and it uses white gas. Now, I've used other types of gas, like they have them now where you can use dual fuel.
Yep.
Like an unleaded and a white gas, which are actually
Wonderful.
wonderful to have because you can use an unleaded gas in it. And then they have the propane ones, which you can use and also has a hose that you can connect just like with the lantern and connect it to like a 5-gallon propane bottle or whatever size bottle that you have, and they'll connect to your lantern or to your camp stove. But these old styles are actually pretty darn good
Yep.
if you've got and can continue to have parts for them, because that's the problem now, because nowadays they're going to all of this propane stuff and everything. So
I was looking at this, and I always felt like the most difficult thing using these, and I use these up in Western New York, and the wind blows a fair amount up there. It's always blowing that heat all over the place, other than your pan. Even with the sides up, you had to be careful with it.
yes.
And down here in the South, if you're far enough removed from the time of a hurricane, these work really well because you don't have a lot of wind. But I was thinking the other thing too.
Well, for a dual fuel stove, like a Whisper Light, that's
Yep.
a dual fuel.
Yep.
All you need to do is put up the little grate around it, and you can cook just fine.
Yep.
It's the best way to go.
I was thinking of the Swedish stoves.
Yes,
Those are
correct.
that's
Yeah, and they make different types of survival stoves nowadays that you can buy that are like alcohol type stoves that they have alcohol cans and various types of stoves, and which are, some kind of survival stove is great to have, even if you use it only like once every couple years or even every 5 years. It's great to have.
Having it as an emergency backup is critical.
absolutely.
I had so teach wilderness survival first aid. Blah, blah, blah. I'm tired. Wilderness survival first aid. Blah, blah, blah. That's a technical term. And one of our young students, after the 22 freeze, called us up and said, "Hey, not going to be able to make it." "Oh, why not?" "Well, my mom and my father passed away in the snowstorm, and he's 16. He drove out to go get fuel. They didn't have camp fuel, and for whatever reason, mom and dad didn't have the survival instincts. It got down into the negatives, and they froze to death. They died. They died while he was out getting gas because he had a car wreck, had to shelter in place with someone on the side of the road. He found a home, but when he got back 36 hours later, his family, for whatever reason, they had no survival instincts. His mom and dad died. And so he was no longer going to the scout ranch where he needed his wilderness first aid certification. I bring up that bummer of a story to say this. Yeah, Steve's kind of covering some real basics here, but having a propane stove that you can cook your food on, if you have a snowstorm, a hurricane, whatever, earthquake that displaces emergency services, it is important. It's part of being that man of the house, or if you're a single mom, being the parent who is ready to protect their family. That kid was orphaned. Now, albeit he's like 16. Yeah, he's a short time to be an orphan, but what a horrific way to leave a legacy for your kid in such a preventable death. Make sure that you have common sense survival gear for your 2-3 day, 2-week blackouts. Okay, you'll never know when it'll be helpful and handy.
To be really clear, I think this needs to be brought up again. Don't forget what we went through with COVID. What was the initial run on stuff as COVID came?
Oh yeah, all your survival stuff.
So, guys, it's just important to really be prepared. It doesn't matter where in the country you live.
Be prepared.
There's always some type of storm.
Yeah.
Right.
And we should always be ready to handle that. And I've got basic stuff at home. I wished I had more, but
be ready to live for 2 weeks without infrastructure at any time. Be ready to live. Right. It's part of protecting your family and protecting yourself. Your life is valuable. The life of your family is valuable. Protect yourself.
Correct.
Next cut.
Yes.
And I don't know what this is.
And this right here are my protection birds.
What are protection birds, Steve?
I have had these for about probably 30 years.
What do they protect, Steve?
They protect everything in my garage.
It's bad luck to be superstitious, right?
Well, it's not superstition. Okay? No, it was a joke back, oh man, I don't know. It's probably been about 33 years ago at least. Me, my brother, and a couple other friends were hunting down in South Texas. We were going down every single year to go to this one place. And these are actually dove decoys. Mm-hmm. And we had each bought a bunch of them, and we had set them out on some little bushes when we would go down to South Texas, and it helped bring around. This was long before mojos and all of this stuff was ever around. And you'd stick them on some little trees. They got little, like, clothes pins on them.
Yeah.
And they'd kind of bring the birds closer to you so you could shoot them. And so I took 2 of them and this was before I moved in with my mom to take care of her over another house I was at in Spring. And
You just had your decoy
I just
birds.
put them up there, and they'd been there forever. And I told the kids that I was like, "Hey, this is
Your
my
protective
protection birds." And they would come into the garage, and this was when they were in like elementary school, man.
this was their Santa
Stuff.
Claus.
Yeah,
This was their
and they
Santa
were
Claus.
like, "Oh, hey, that's protection birds, man," and so they thought it was really cool.
So I will say the one thing that is true about this is have good hunting supplies. If you don't know how to prepare field dress an animal, go ahead and go learn and because decoys are used in hunting, make sure you know how to procure your own food. I like what Sari, aka MZ Mary, said. I have 2 months of cash and 3 weeks worth of everything
I
else.
was just noticing that.
That is absolutely correct. That is the way to
Yes.
go. Not sponsored by Patriot Food Supply, but something like that. Okay, that would be something like that. If
And I'm
don't
going to
have
give
your
you
own.
one more thing to think about in addition to the cash.
Yeah,
If I were you, I'd be thinking about storing up some silver rounds.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Silver is going to be the currency you want to use because of
Correct.
the difference in the numismatic value versus the gold. It's much smaller currency. Trading chlorine, toilet paper, bullets, and beer. Those are your other really good.
And you know, hey,
Did you say beer?
Tell me I'm wrong.
hey, I agree with you on that.
lemonade.
Alcohol will be a
huge
big thing,
But it won't be
for
beer.
trade.
It won't be-
It'll
well,
be
maybe it
beer.
would be.
It'll be beer. It'll be vodka. It'll be
See, I'm
naturalized
thinking-
alcohol
yeah.
because you could use it for either or. Sorry to offend the Baptist sensibilities, but I will
But
say a
it-
little bit of not denatured alcohol in an emergency situation
Yeah.
can be very good for someone who has suffered an injury.
But I'm
Yes.
thinking the alcohol to be used as a
Antiseptic.
accelerant.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But,
Or accelerant,
Yeah.
all the above.
Yep.
All the above. Someone says tobacco too. Absolutely agree. There'll be a number of
Great
different
for
things.
trading.
Whoa, Crow for Freedom. Now, wait a minute. Are you talking cigars? I want to know
Cigars or
what kind of
cigarettes?
tobacco are we talking about here?
Talking cigars or cigarettes?
Man, there'll be all kinds of things that you can use for trading.
So
And I mean, just
have
You'd be
yourself
surprised.
your supply. be
Med
prepared.
supplies are important. I
Med
would agree with
supplies
that.
Are
Yes.
incredibly important.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So here is the next segment moving
And-
forward.
and-
Unless you got anything.
yeah, and
Wanna
it
wrap
was just to add something, and this is just to get people's minds thinking, to think about stuff just like people are talking about here in the chat. And once you put things in people's minds like the stove and a lantern and this or that, it starts to get you to think about other options.
Yeah.
What is good to have? Hey, I didn't think this, I could use this and I could have this. And they're not items that are super expensive. Once a month, you could go, or
Add one
once
thing.
one thing every paycheck, you could get something small and just add it and have it.
Coffee.
Start coffee.
Coffee,
Chocolate.
yes.
Chocolate. Someone said chocolate in the live chat, by the way.
Yep.
If you're one of our regular listeners, hundreds of thousands of downloads on the audio. Thank you so much. We are honored. We're on Rumble and YouTube at Further Every Day. But if you're one of our regular listeners and you are not joining us live on PSB's channels on DLive, Vaughn.live, or Rumble, you can join us there and join the live chat. So, and that is who we are chatting with right now. So just be advised, you can join us. So those are the chats that we're reading.
And I'll tell you what, one more thing, because this is important. Sari, aka Ms. Mary, you are exactly right. People need the warning to never share your storage info with people.
100%.
Couldn't agree more.
Do not tell people I've got my apocalypse stash. I know it's cool among the preppers to talk about whose pile's bigger than the other and share sizes. Don't.
Not wise.
It breeds jealousy on all fronts. But all jokes aside and truths aside,
Especially if you
sure-
have firearms.
do not be a loot drop for someone else.
Amen.
When the hurricane hits.
Correct.
As the gamers say. Moving on into the next segment, and Mr. Producer, this is going to be cut 31. Song review.
nice little piano sound.
Nice little piano riff.
That is a nice
like it?
piano riff.
Okay. So that is
Ryan's
the
like, I'm gonna
song
play it
review.
again.
I'm going to play it again. So that leads us into song review. So we have a culture song, and then we've got a contemporary Christian song
No,
that
we
we're
got
going to review.
2 culture songs.
Oh, they're 2
today.
culture songs.
Ooh.
2 culture
I thought it was a
songs.
KCM song you had.
Is this
No, no,
like
no. We'll do that next week.
Last week, okay. So last week we said we were going to do this. We're talking about brain rot in the public and singing the songs you hear on social media. One of the songs that's been playing on social media over and over again, you see it in a lot of the memes, is this one by Chappelle Roan.
What?
The Pink Pony Club. It is exactly what you think it is.
Pink
Picture in your
Pony
mind.
Club?
It's exactly what you think it is.
Oh,
now,
my
real quick,
gosh.
Mr. Producer, why do we do these episodes? Because, let me just lay it out real quick, because Mr. Producer's laid it out before, I'll lay it out myself. We want to look at what the culture is singing. And in fact, and in the words of a theologian and philosopher of the 1800s, let me write the songs of a nation, and I care not what its laws are. Think about that.
That's pretty strong.
Let me write the songs of a nation, and I care not what its laws are. So we're going to do a little bit of cultural analysis. We sometimes break apart contemporary Christian songs, some worship hymns. Why do we sing what we sing? What's good about it? What's not good? What should you look for in a song? And then obviously also, when you hear that bop song, playing on the radio, and you go and you actually look up the lyrics, or you see it on social media, maybe it's good to know what the culture is actually saying. And in doing so, we can better understand, kind of like a mortician understanding during the autopsy, what am I looking at? What killed the culture? What killed this writer's soul? And I'm not here to be judgy or harsh, but I am here to say we can learn something. So this is from Chappelle Roan. This is this administration invited Chappelle Roan during Pride Month because LGBT, and Chappelle Roan is LGBT in the queer, I believe, category, somewhere in there. I don't know. I don't keep track. And she turned him down until Palestine had justice, just talking about, this is the artist that we're referring to. And I believe that she is actually a she. But she's queer. So, it's the fashionable thing. But anyway, let's go ahead and bring on the next cut, Mr. Producer.
So it's a he?
She. It is a she. She's just queer. She's just confused. Okay, likes the ladies too, as much as the men. So she says, even though there's no, you can just say I'm queer these days and get all of the street cred you want. It doesn't really mean that has anything to do with your sexuality. It's just you're queer. So you're like cool. It's like being goth in my generation. It's like you're yes, exactly. You're alt. It's like being an alt girl back in the day when things were less confusing. It was just goth people. Anyway, okay, let's go back to that. Verse number 1. This is what she starts off the song. I know you wanted me to stay, talking to her mom, but I can't ignore the crazy visions of me in LA. And I heard there's a special place where the boys and girls can be queens every single day. Correct. So let's pause there. This is a story as old as time. Chappelle, I'd be right there with you. I'd be right there with you, thirsting for this kind of attention, except my dad said 3 words. It was really strange. They were really repetitive. He kept saying them, oh yeah, I love you.
Yep.
Someone did not have a strong father figure. We make fun of daddy issues, but dads are important. They do have an impact. And you notice you won't see anything about dad in here. You only see stuff about mom and mom being disappointed. Next cut, Mr. Producer.
My dad told me 4 words. I'll kick your butt.
That's helpful too. Honestly, dads need to. We need more of that. We need more corporal punishment. Cut number 34, Mr. Producer. I'm having wicked dreams of leaving Tennessee. Here, Santa Monica, I swear it's calling me. Won't make my mama proud because it's going to cause a scene. She sees her baby girl. I know she's going to scream. Next is the chorus. Oh God, what have you done? You're a pink pony girl and you dance at the club. Oh mama, I'm just having fun on the stage of my heels. It's where I belong, down at the Pink Pony Club. I'm going to keep dancing down in West Hollywood. I'm going to keep dancing at the Pink Pony Club. I'm cutting out some of the repetitive stuff. What you see here is someone who's looking for their affirmation in the physical. Because hear me out. Hear me out. I know everyone's grossed out, but hear me out. If you're a materialistic monist, let me explain that for just a second. You believe that there is no spiritual duality. There's no flesh and spirit, but there's just the flesh. This makes sense. If all you do is you are born from worm and dirt, and you will return to worm and dirt, ought not you to pursue your pleasure? It makes sense. It is a cogent worldview under that understanding. Now, you have to ignore God. You have to ignore Christ's love. You have to ignore the immaterials. But it does make sense that someone who believes that we are just going to turn into worm rot, worm food, why not just live for the moment? If there is no eternity, why not live like hell? And this life is the greatest heaven that those in hell will ever see. And conversely, this world is the deepest hell that the redeemed will ever know. So when we see the world acting like this, we can recoil in disgust. And yes, that is natural for those who see it for what it is. I understand. But you also need to remember, that's our mission field. If you're a Christian, that's someone you should desire to say, no. You are so much more valuable than this lifestyle that you have embraced. Yeah. You are so much more valuable. There is a Father that loves you, and he's in heaven, and he desires the best for you. And this is not going to be a good thing for you long term. Why do Christians hate gays? We don't hate gays. Right. We hate the thing that separates you further from God. That's what we hate. Why do we hate strippers? We don't hate strippers. We hate the activity that is destroying your self-worth, the potential that God built into you, the harm that this is doing to you. We as Christians, we should see that and say, hey, that's harmful. That hurts you. Yet we have allowed the culture with the thou shalt be nice to continue this. And I do believe that we should legislate some of this stuff. I don't think we should allow this stuff to be in public. We used to have obscenity laws. We used to have it so that, voyeuristic literature in pictures, if you catch my drift, could not be sold just to some child using a pseudonym and an account with an age rating above 18. It used to be very, very hard to get a hold of porn and smut. It's not anymore. It's everywhere. It's in our movies. It's in our comics. You go online and you see stuff that's gateway. It's all introductory. It's all foreplay. No wonder our world is turned upside down in confusion. It's because we've allowed this to continue.
We cannot have women walking down the streets in sheer gowns. And it aggravates me that they're not arrested.
And
there used to be an indecency thing because I'm sorry, after a certain point, children see that and you are doing something to, so
yep.
But when I was 4, I watched Michael Keaton's Batman. I'm sorry, that's something that a 4-year-old should not have seen because look, Michelle Pfeiffer is very fine, very beautiful woman, but seeing that much of a body and a figure changed something in me as a 4-year-old.
Yep.
And I'm not saying necessarily we prohibit that, but I'm saying we need to understand that is life-changing for young boys and for women. Young girls, they see that attention. If they're not getting good affection from their father, maybe this is the best affection I can get.
Yeah.
And this is the only way to get it. I can't speak to that because I'm not a woman, but I can speak to it as a boy. It's very damaging to have parts of a woman shown that ought not to be shown. And for that matter, parts of a man. I don't want to see any man stuff. I don't want to see any man stuff.
Agreed.
I think we could afford to be a little bit more modest. I think men could afford to be more modest. I like a full body swimming suits.
Agree with all of these parades that they have with these all these queer parades and stuff. That's with all of these men that walk around.
Yeah.
Nude and stuff. That and women topless and all.
It's not healthy. It's disordered.
You'd be surprised by some of the customers I've served at work, how they're dressed when they walk in.
There's nothing on them.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be. And there was one day, Ryan, when I would have been. But we have gotten to a place in our society where we think showing stuff is really, it's fashionable.
Well, again, if all you are is the meat suit,
Yep.
then why wouldn't you use that to its fullest pleasure and extent? But instead, we ignore the fact that there's a metaphysical reality, and we breed confusion like this song. And you could see the confusion further. Let's finish this one out, and then we'll go to something a little bit more uplifting, a little bit less degrading. But I'm up, and jaws are on the floor, lovers in the bathroom, and a line outside the door, black lights and a mirrored disco ball. Every night's another reason why I left it all. I think that's telling. But next cut, Mr. Producer. I thank my wicked dreams of a year from Tennessee. Oh, Santa Monica, you've been too good to me. Won't make my mama proud. I know it's going to cause a scene when she sees her baby girl. I know she's going to scream. So, and then it goes to the chorus. Oh God, what have you done? But that's good enough. What you're seeing here is the fulfillment of the godly ordered sexual state in marriage. You're seeing the fulfillment in a perverse way.
Yep.
The man is supposed to pursue the wife, and not, yes, there's pleasure for a man in the marital bed, yes, but it should be to the benefit of both. You should be cherishing your wife, and your wife should feel like she is queen of the world, right? She should feel like she's queen of the house, queen of the world. And you see the fulfillment of this in a perverse way in what this singer is writing. Part of it is on the church. Part of it is on men, mostly on her father. Really, all of it's on her. I'm not going to blame. She has her own free will. Okay, she has her own free will. But what I will say is this: that social confusion is what we've allowed to brew, and I think we can afford to be a little bit more intolerant of deviancy. I forget who said it, but I recently heard this well spoken. The more tolerant a society is of deviant sexual behavior, the less tolerant it'll be of godly sexual behavior. And the less tolerant of deviant sexual behavior a society is, the more tolerant it'll be of godly sexual behavior. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
You have a tolerance bank. I'm intolerant, and you should be too. I'm intolerant of people, pouring napalm on babies. Okay, let's just reduce it down to the most reductive set. I would be intolerant of that. The more tolerant I was of that heinous act, the less tolerant I would be to the perspective that everyone on this panel holds, that it is intolerable to do that. I would have to change my tolerance. It is binary. You will tolerate one or the other. Mm-hmm. What will you tolerate?
Yep.
And what do we tolerate as a society? That's my question. Moving on to more happy people.
Do we have time to do another one?
Do you want to do it? Can we do it in 8 minutes?
I think so.
Do it.
So okay.
Do it. So this is the one that Ryan wanted to cover to pull us out of the muck that we just drug through.
Yeah.
Well, we went through
Something.
some muck. I think I still got some on me.
Oh gosh.
Let him
I
run.
need to go to the bathroom for a second and watch
Okay,
this ball.
so Happy People by Little Big Town. Any country music fans out there probably know who these people are. They're known for their 4-part harmonies. They're kind of like a little bit of a quartet. And this is an interesting song because I think there's a lot of goodness to it, but also some questionable stuff. And I think it kind of depends on how you look at it. So let's get into it. Verse 1, happy people don't cheat. Happy people don't lie. They don't judge or hold a grudge. Don't criticize. Happy people don't hate. Happy people don't steal. 'Cause all the hurt sure ain't worth all the guilt they'd feel. Anyone have any thoughts so far? I'm curious. I'll say mine in a moment, but anyone have any thoughts?
There's so much running through my mind here.
Okay, here, I'll give you...
Yeah, go.
When I first heard this song, my first impression was... See, I think there's like I said, I think you can look at the song two ways because I think it depends on what you mean by happiness.
Yep.
And
You
I
have to
think,
define your terms.
yes, I think if you define happiness as whatever is pleasurable to you, like
It's not true either way. But
Well, I
but
think-
you're right. If it's only what's pleasurable, you'll hate some things.
but if you define happiness as what kind of like joy, like what truly would make you happy, what is good, and what will feel fulfilling.
So here's
You know what I'm saying?
Here's where I have the issue, and this is something I think it was written in good faith, but happy people don't hate. That is just not true. You will hate something to the point we just made.
Yes.
You will hate
Yeah.
evil and love good, or you will love evil and hate good.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
So but it's one of those things that if people aren't philosophically grounded, they would think that.
Yes. So I thought, when I first heard this song, I think, like you said, they mean it in good faith, but I also think, like, wait a minute, what about like sadists? What about
Yeah,
people who take
exactly.
pleasure in doing evil?
Exactly.
There's
So I think it's going to be. I think
But I also think that, like, how do I say this? Like, being good is what will truly make you happy. You know what I'm trying to say?
yeah. So happiness is a state. Joy is a decision.
Yeah, that's it. Like, happiness is just
Opposite-
a feeling. Joy is a choice.
Opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy. Hate is you will hate the things that harm the things you love. If you do not love the thing, the opposite, apathy, you will neither hate nor love it because you are not capable, you're apathetic to it. So that's where I think there's a little bit of a trip up there, but it's a common one in our culture.
Yes. Yeah.
Rock and roll on the chat said hate is a strong emotion.
It is.
I would agree with that.
It is.
Yep. Yep.
Keep going, Mr. Producer.
All right. Oh,
There you go.
there we go. If you want to know the secret, can't buy, I gotta make it. You ain't ever gonna be it by taking someone else's away.
Good.
Never take it for granted. You don't have to understand it. Here's to whatever puts a smile on your face, whatever makes you happy, people.
So there's the lie of follow your heart. But the idea that happiness isn't a zero sum game, that's true. I like
the
that.
part where they're saying like true happiness doesn't come from taking other people's away.
It's not a zero sum game.
Yeah.
I like that. That's absolutely true. The idea that someone will be happy and someone won't. That's antithetical to the idea of heaven. There will be a place where everyone's happy.
Oh, good thought there.
Now, there will be a place also where you can go if you don't want to take in the joy of heaven, and that by definition will be hell. But not to get off on that. Back to you, Howard. Ryan.
Okay. Happy people don't fail.
Old people joke.
Happy people just learn.
Keep going.
We're sorry.
Ignore the hyenas.
Oh gosh. Happy people don't fail. Happy people just learn. Don't think they're above, push or shove. They just wait their turn. They always got a hand or a dollar to spare. Know the golden rule, what you're going through, even if they've never been there.
This is like this rhymes with easy believism, wish-wash Christianity. Like, this is cultural Christianity at its finest,
I think you could say that, yes.
where it's very just milk toast. And I mean to a certain extent within a framework, maybe that's true. But happy people don't fail. You're ignoring sin. Now, I understand what they mean. We just had a learning experience. I've heard that, and I appreciate that. But if you take that as a maxim to live your life by, you will exclude the fact that you can mess up. Now, that mess up doesn't destroy you, but you do need to build off of it. Mm-hmm. That's my first takeaway from that. Know the golden rule. Why is the golden rule important? You got to hate evil if you hate something. But again,
Well, now I don't. I should have looked
apart.
into this. I don't know if they're strong Christians or not.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
Melissa Paynes has got this nailed in the chat. and this is what's getting me. No declaration of where true happiness comes from. God. And
Yeah.
that
Perry's,
nails
Melissa
it.
Perry's, you've got it. Nail on the head. You're correct.
And I'm sorry, Melissa, my glasses do not zoom in real nice on this little screen I've got in front of
Yeah.
me. So I'm very sorry about that. But your comment is spot on right.
100% correct. And that's where it falls short. But yes.
Real quick, one point I want to make is I think like some of the things they're saying, like true happiness comes from following godly principles, and
Yes.
it will feel good in a way, and it makes, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah,
it feels
yeah.
fulfilling,
I do.
and it's pleasant to lend a hand to somebody, you know?
And it's not a bad thing.
Right.
But again, you want to be careful living your life by a maxim that's divorced or devoid from the gospel.
Yep.
But yes, I agree.
All right, let's finish this.
Harmless
out
pop.
here. Yeah. These days
Ish.
ain't always easy to find. They're the ones that you want standing by your side. No time for greed. If they need some, give them a slice, and we'll all be happy people. And then ending real quick here, very short. Well, life is short, and love is rare, and we all deserve to be happy while we're here.
Nope.
Now that part, I definitely don't.
So this is where I'd say that the culture has wildly failed, and it's in this. There are hard truths. God is love. God is also justice, and you cannot have love without hate. And I'll explain this. Gerard Picarelli, a Houston apologist, said this one time. I don't know where he got it from or if it originated with him, but he said it very well. He says, you cannot have love without hate. If you have a child, think about your child. Or if you're childless, think about your dog or your frog or your niece or nephew.
Your frog.
Something, right? That you love, someone that you love. Now, imagine you've been on a trip and you're coming home, and just outside the door, you see someone has broken into your house, and they curb stomp, snapping the neck of your child, your pet, whoever, your mom, and you hear the crack.
That was right in my ears, Mr. Steve.
All of you just had a visceral reaction if you were listening to what I was saying. Your granny's neck just got snapped. Your daughter or son's neck just got snapped. You will hate what that person did. You may or may not hate the person. You might be able to come to the place where you don't hate them, but you will forever hate what they did. You cannot have love without hate. Love, apathy. Love, apathy. Those are the extremes. Hate is, you can't have hate where you have apathy, because you just don't care.
Do we get to have self-defense when that happens?
Well, defense of others, absolutely.
Yep.
I think you bury them out
I
back.
think you do.
But that's a different issue.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where that falls apart for me. It's an easy believism, kind of like a pseudo-cultural Christianity. It's a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is worth looking at. So
Definitely.
moving on. Final stretch of the leg today. Let's go ahead and go into the book corner. We're going to cover the screw tape letters today.
Oh.
And almost there. There. He's got it. Ryan's got it. Chapter 13. If you've been following along with us, great. If not, we're in chapter 13 of the screw tape letters. Let's go to an overview of what the screw tape letters is for those just joining us. The screw tape letters are a series of correspondence between two demons, Screwtape, the elder mentor, and his apprentice, Wormwood. In these correspondence, Screwtape encourages Wormwood in how to tempt Wormwood's human, quote-unquote, patient, as they refer to him, a young man in the World War II era of Britain. In this thread of conversation, Lewis explores the base temptations of man and how Satan and his tempters may indeed think about our own existence and how they may work to tempt the souls of men. So remember, this is written from the perspective of the demons, and our enemy would be God. Our father below would be Satan. Just keep those in mind. Chapter 13 is on the benefit of reflection to the human soul. Reflecting on what is good and what is true has a real benefit to the human soul, and it is a detriment to the demonic desire. It is a detriment to those who wish to tempt you. Next cut, Mr. Producer. Screwtape. In this chapter, the senior demon chastises Wormwood for allowing his human time to contemplate reality and seek good things, ultimately drawing the patient closer to God and loosening the demonic hold over the man. As we read this, listen carefully, because not everything good is directly attached to God, but it could be a fulfillment of a godly or God-given desire. And in something being good or wholesome, it doesn't have to have Christ at its center, but rather refer to the ultimate author, Christ. And this is Lewis's point in this illustration. Again, we're going to be reading from the demon's perspective. So everything that they want, we don't want. Go ahead and pull up the first cut, Mr. Producer. So he begins, "Screw tape to Wormwood. My dear Wormwood, it seems to me that you take a great many pages to tell a very simple story. The long and the short of it is that you have let the man slip through your fingers. The situation is very grave, and I really see no reason why I should try to shield you from the consequences of your inefficiency. A repentance and renewal of what the other side call grace on the scale which you describe is a defeat of the first order. It amounts to a second conversion, and probably on a deeper level than the first. This is Satan's greatest concern, rededicating your life. We had this talk with your son. What's wrong with saying, Lord, I commit my life back to you?
Nothing wrong with that.
If I was not saved before, Lord, I truly give myself to you. Is there anything wrong with saying that? Nothing wrong with that. If you have any resistance to that, check your heart for pride. It's not a bad thing to recommit your life. And by the way, the demons and devils of hell hate that. They do watch. As a redeemed occultist once said, he became a pastor after being an occultist. He said, I wish that the Western church could see the spiritual realm for one day, because the demons and devils of hell are real and they are around us, and what you see would terrify you. This is the depths into which we plunge ourselves in Lewis's chapter 13 of the Screwtape Letters. Next cut, Mr. Producer. As you ought to have known, the asphyxiating cloud which prevented your attacking the patient on his walk back from the old mill is a well-known phenomenon. It is the enemy's most barbarous weapon, and generally he appears when he is directly present to the patient under certain modes not fully yet classified. Some humans are permanently surrounded by it and therefore inaccessible to us. And now for your blunders. On your own showing, you first of all allowed the patient to read a book which he really enjoyed, because he enjoyed it, and not in order to make clever remarks about it to his new friends. Guys, every pleasure on this world has a root in God's goodness. The question is, are you pursuing that pleasure in accordance with God's design, or are you using the blender in the bathtub? It's a really simple thing. God's not intolerant. The blender and the bathtub do not mix for a number of reasons. I'll let you imagine why. The manufacturer gives you instructions on how to use both. The blender and the bathtub are good things. Mix them out of context and they are very bad. Reading a book, doing something pleasurable, not everything you do has to be 110% Jesus focused. It has to be Christ honoring, though. It should be in pursuit of goodness. And in doing so, God will redeem the time in your life. Next cut, Mr. Producer. In the second place, you allowed him to walk down to the old mill and have tea there, a walk through the country he really likes, and taken alone. In other words, you allowed him two real positive pleasures. Were you so ignorant as not to see the danger of this? The characteristic of pains and pleasures is that they are unmistakably real, and therefore, as far as they go, give the man who feels them a touchstone of reality. Thus, if you've been trying to damn your man by the romantic method, by making him a kind of chilled herald, or rather submerged in self-pity for imaginary distresses, you would try to protect him at all costs from any real pain. Because, of course, 5 minutes genuine toothache would reveal the romantic sorrows from the nonsense that they were and unmask your whole stratagem. But you were trying to damn your patient by the world. That is, by palming off vanity, bustle, irony, and expensive tedium as pleasures. How can you have failed to see that a real pleasure was the last thing you ought to have let him meet? Didn't you foresee that it would, just by contrast, all the trumpery which you have been so laboriously teaching him to value? And that sort of pleasure, which the book and the walk gave him, was the most dangerous of all? That it would peel off from his sensibility the kind of crust you've been forming on it, and make him feel that he was coming home, recovering himself. As a preliminary to detaching himself from the enemy, you wanted to detach him from himself, and had made some progress in doing so. Now all of that is undone. Let's pause for a second here. The more in contact with reality you are, whether it's through pain and suffering, or whether it's through true pleasures, family, friends, a good book, a walk, things that make you ground to reality and to understand and sense what this world really is about. It's about preparing you for the next. Those things are good things. Pain can be used for good. Because the pain is not good, but the grounding to reality is. And the Father in heaven allows different seasons, different things to ground you to the reality that this world is temporal, is short. There is an eternal beyond. Those sorts of groundings are the devil's worst nightmare. You have anything on that, Charlie?
Boy, I love this chapter. It's a good chapter. And the whole book, and I just want to encourage people that if you've not read this, by all means, you really should, because it's such an interesting take as to how Satan may be looking at
How
us.
he's thinking.
And it's kind of scary at times.
And it should, hey, let this be a grounding.
It's a warning. Yeah.
Grounding moment. And a good book. Look, I'm all about reading the word. I love to read in the Greek and the Hebrew. I am a scholar in neither, but I am learning. I like to read a little bit of Lewis, a little bit of fun stuff. This is fun stuff, I think. Chronicles of Narnia, deeply theologically rich. Mr. Producer is reading through the volume I gave him for his last birthday. Still working through it.
Yes.
But what do you think? It's fun.
It's really good so far. Really good. I've only read the first 2 books, but it's pretty good.
It's good stuff. So to continue, chapter 13, of course, I know that the enemy also wants to detach men from themselves, but in a different way. Remember always that he really likes the little vermin and has set absurd value on the distinctness of every one of them. When he talks of their losing themselves, he only means abandoning the clamor of self-will. Once they have done that, he really gives them back all of their personality and boasts, I'm afraid sincerely, that when they are wholly his, they will be more themselves than ever. Hence, while he is delighted to see them sacrificing even their innocent wills to his, he hates to see them drifting away from their own nature for any other reason. And we should always encourage them to do so. The deepest likings and impulses of any man are the raw material, the starting point with which the enemy has furnished him. Let's pause here. I had a young lady one time, dearly loved this young lady. She came to me and said, I don't want to go to heaven because I do not want to lose my personality. Not sure where that idea came up, but it must be something in regards to the you will be conformed to the image of Christ. Do not misunderstand that. Lewis correctly states here and illustrates through the discourse between these demons, when you come to submit yourself to God, you abandon the crazy, the vile, the evil things about yourself, and you fulfill the blueprint of the unique person that you are. That is the mystery. That is the miracle of salvation, that God created you with a blueprint to be this unique beautiful individual, this son or daughter of God. Only by giving up your desires can you be truly fulfilled in a new way and have desires that are beneficial to all. Satan wants to take that individuality and that beauty, that raw material, and pervert it. In fact, that is one of the best ways in which Satan works. His most valuable assets is to use your own individuality against you. Case in point, next cut, Mr. Producer. To get him away from those is therefore always a point gained. Even in things indifferent, it is always desirable to substitute the standards of the world or convention or fashion for a human's own real likings and dislikings. I myself would carry this very far. You got it there, Steve? Thank you. So let's go back. This is the social media trend issue that we have here. I myself would carry this very far. I would make it a rule to eradicate from my patient any strong personal taste, which is not actually a sin, even if it is something quite trivial, such as a fondness for country cricket or for collecting stamps or drinking cola. Such things, I grant you, have nothing of virtue in them, but there is a sort of innocence and humility and self-forgetfulness about them which I distrust. Let's pause for a second here. Have you noticed how all young women start to look the same after they get on social media? Have you noticed that having hobbies is now looked down upon unless they are culturally accepted hobbies? What I mean by this is when polled, young women say collecting trains, building trains, least desirable hobby. Right? If a guy builds model railroads, undesirable. If he builds dioramas, if he has any sort of artistic inclinations outside of their exact bullet point and list, it is considered undesirable and a red flag. Why does the world want to make all of the women like the Kardashians when this trend comes through? And all the men have to be this effeminate, skinny jean wearing parody? Because the individualism is not a good thing for Satan. For Satan, it's not a good thing for Satan. It is good that you be unique and individualistic in the context of fulfilling God's plan for your life. And Satan wants nothing more than to rob you of the innocent peculiarities, as C.S. Lewis writes right here. Next cut, Mr. Producer. The man who truly and disinterestedly enjoys any one thing in the world for its own sake and without caring twopence for what other people say about it is by that very fact forearmed against some of our subtlest modes of attack. You should always try to make the patient abandon the people or food or books that he really likes in favor of, quote, the best people or the, quote, right food or the, quote, important books. I have known a human defended from strong temptations to social ambition by a still stronger taste for tripe and onions. Funny, but true. If you are a people pleaser, if you're buying into the social contagion, you're falling into Satan's playbook. Be unique. Enjoy the good things, the uniqueness of your personality, and enjoy good things in good taste and in good time. To God's delight, actually. Continue, Mr. Producer. It remains to consider how we can retrieve this disaster. The great thing is to prevent his doing anything. As long as he does not convert it into action, his conversion, it does not matter how much he thinks about his new repentance. Let the little brute wallow in it. Let him, if he has any bent that way, write a book about it. That is often an excellent way of sterilizing the seeds which the enemy plants in the human soul. Let him do anything but act. No amount of piety in his imagination and affections will harm us if we can keep it out of his will. As one of the humans has said, active habits are best strengthened by repetition, but passive ones are weakened. The more often he feels without acting, the less he will be able to ever act, and in the long run, the less he will be able to feel. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. What does Lewis mean by that last portion? You ever been tempted and you
Yes.
say, hold up, all the thought. And you say, I ought to fix this in my life, but then you don't. Have you ever been tempted and convicted and you sit there and you say, I ought to fix this, I ought to do better at this, but your will never engages? Is there something in your life right now that you've been thinking about and you say, I ought to change this, I ought to fix this, but you've been putting it off? Danger, Will Robinson. You are in danger. Fix it today. Because the longer you put it off, the harder it's going to be to turn away from that sin, that vice, that sloth, that anger. I really ought to forgive so-and-so. I really ought to quit porn. I really ought to stop drinking. Whatever it is, maybe it's something much less grandiose than those. Whatever it is in your life, put it aside. It's only going to get harder to dump it later. Final thoughts for the day, Steve.
Yeah, talking about what you just mentioned, John Arthur, about getting rid of things, being convicted. And one of the things that I'll mention on that is what you just talked about is if you have talking and been thinking about quitting drinking and you haven't done it yet, I am here to tell you it can be done. I used to have a problem with drinking. 24 years ago, I used to drink a lot. I mean, tremendously. And had a drinking problem. Quit, decided not to do it. It was a problem. And it's the best thing that ever happened. Got Jesus. Been the best thing in my life was getting Jesus. And I'll tell you what, he continues to make it the best thing in my life is having Jesus in my life.
All through obedience. That's how it happens.
That's it.
Charlie.
Amen.
Sari, aka Ms. Mary, I see your comment there, and I would
Please read it.
I'll go ahead and read it. I tried for 10 years to stop smoking. Will was there, couldn't get through. I would probably encourage you to maybe not look so much on your will, but gaze upon the face of God.
Amen.
And no, you probably can't do it on your own. There's men that can't quit porn on their own, and they need to gaze upon the face of God.
That's true.
And I would probably encourage you to do that, and I would encourage you not to quit trying. You strive.
Amen.
Strive.
Yes.
I really appreciate this podcast today. It's been good.
Agreed.
So I want to close out with a quote from Sugar Magnolia 78. Howdy. Good to see you there. Been catching up on the chats here on Rumble via PSB's channel. That's where you guys can find us live on Sundays, 1 to 3 Central. And we hate it, porn, that it's destroying souls. I have to keep porn blocked from my son's computer. It's damaging to women in the sense that we think we need to look like those women to be loved, especially when we are young and the role models for women are unnaturally thin and pretty. Male attraction to young, pretty women is a natural thing, and that is not a bad thing in of itself. But it comes with a responsibility. We need to teach young men to be responsible husbands.
Amen.
And responsible fathers. And we need to teach young women that, look, you are beautiful in God's sight. You have a purpose, and if that purpose is to build a family, you ought to be cherished by a man who is worthy of you. Okay? And we talk a lot about, I think we overharp on men and not enough on women sometimes in this culture, but in this one case, I'll say this, the culture has lied to women and said that you must be promiscuous to be loved. This is absolutely not true.
Nope.
It is a bastardization of a natural affection that God has given us. And we need to be there as the church to tell the truth. I think the church is too silent on sex.
Oh, amen.
That's another podcast for another time.
I
But
agree.
I think we should be really on the forefront of natural pleasures are a good thing. In their context, in God's plan, they produce beauty. So go enjoy some beauty this week in the context that God laid it out and in the benefit that he provided for you. With that said, we love you so much. We hope you have a wonderful week.